Staring at a blank page, thesis deadlines looming, anxiety tightens its grip. Ever feel paralyzed by the pressure to be perfect? This story follows Ben's struggle with dissertation dread, revealing a simple trick that unlocked his writer's block. Learn how to silence your inner critic and find the courage to start, even if it's just with one bad page. Ben sat alone in the sterile library carrel, the glow of his laptop screen bathing his face in cold light. Around him, rows of silent books waited patiently, their spines whispering stories he had yet to fully understand. It was 2 a.m, and the only sound filling the air was the relentless blinking of the cursor on his blank Word document. Blink, blink, blink. The cursor mocked him, a steady rhythmic reminder of everything he hadn't done. His research notes were stacked neatly beside his laptop, mountain high. Scholarly articles were highlighted and annotated, each page a fractured piece of his thesis puzzle. The title: The Socio-Economic Impact of Post-War British Cinema, felt heavy, sprawling, overwhelming, like a weight tied around his neck. Ben's heart pounded as a familiar voice whispered inside his head. "You're a fraud. You have nothing original to say. You're not good enough." The voice grew louder with every blink, feeding on his crippling perfectionism. He longed to write something brilliant, groundbreaking, a masterpiece that would justify years of study. Yet the fear of failure paralyzed him, leaving the screen blank and his hands idle. His advisor's email echoed in his mind, a polite but firm reminder that a draft was due by Friday. There were only a few days left, and Ben hadn't typed a single sentence. Panic swelled in his chest, tightening until it felt like a physical ache. He took a deep breath, willing the breath to slow, but it was no use. The walls of the carrel seemed to close in around him. He raised his hand to his face, squeezing his eyes shut. Maybe he could just walk away. Give up the degree. The weight of expectations, his own and everyone else's, felt unbearable. The blinking cursor was no longer just a symbol of his failure. It was an enemy in an invisible battle he seemed certain to lose. Desperation pushed him to rummage through his bag. Fingers brushed against crumpled papers, an empty snack wrapper, a long-forgotten ticket stub. Then a soft scrap of napkin caught his attention. He unfolded it carefully, smoothing away the wrinkles. There, scrawled in faded blue ink, was a simple sentence he had written months ago at a coffee shop. Old movies gave people hope. That small sentence had been the seed of his entire thesis. It wasn't clothed in complex jargon or academic bravado, just a genuine, honest thought, born from passion. He stared at the napkin and then at the screen. The idea still felt powerful, real, a quiet truth waiting to be shared. Ben made a decision. He gave himself permission to write one bad page. No big words, no intricate theories or perfect sentences, just one page explaining that simple idea from the napkin. No one would see it. It didn't have to be excellent. It only had to exist. His fingers hesitated a moment, then began to tap the keys. The sentences were awkward at first, Clumsy phrases, repetitive words, the occasional typo.
But the words appeared on the page. The cursor no longer mocked him. It became a partner, patiently waiting for his next keystroke.
With every sentence, the tight knot of anxiety loosened. The crushing pressure to be brilliant receded, replaced by a quiet rhythm. Write, pause, write again. He stopped listening to the voice that told him he was a fraud, and instead listened to the spark of genuine interest that had brought him this far. Ben wrote about how British movies after the war had reflected and shaped society's hopes and struggles. He wrote about characters who found solace in stories on the screen and audiences who dreamed of better days. He layered his own reflections beneath the facts and figures, his passion seeping through the words. By the time he reached the end of the page, his hands were tired, but his spirit was lighter. The bad page wasn't perfect by any stretch, yet it was enough a beginning that opened the door to more writing, not a final judgment on his ability. Ben shut his eyes and inhaled deeply. The panic had eased. The blinking cursor no longer appeared enemy-like. It was simply a symbol, a doorway inviting him to step forward, one sentence at a time. He realised that finishing his dissertation wouldn't demand brilliance every step of the way. It demanded persistence, courage to write even when the words felt imperfect. He saved the document, smiled faintly, and stretched. Outside, the library clock chimed softly. Dawn was coming. And with it, a new chance to keep going, one page at a time.